We are getting ready to do Systema. It is a Russian martial art. So we are here with Glenn of NC Systema.
Hello.
Noah's instructor for many years now, and Noah has been trying to get me to come in and take the class for a long time now, and I have resisted. So memory number 4, you're a guest. I'm dragging Cindi in with me, and we are trying a Systema class. Noah's pretty pumped about it. He's going to be here as a test dummy.
Pretty much.
Can you tell us what is Systema?
It's not extraordinarily well known, especially not against the backdrop of other self-defense-ish things like Taekwondo or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something. It has fairly ancient origins, but it was kind of put together into a systematized form to be taught to the Russian military in about the 1950s, 1960s. And then it came out to become a civilian style of health, wellness, and self-defense. But it's one of the fastest growing martial arts in the world. What makes it unique is that it happens to be a martial art, but it's really more of a human operating system. It's a way of making yourself more resilient, to stay calmer under pressure and under stress, and in doing so it helps you to defend yourself if that's what you want to use it for, but you can also kind of defend yourself against the stresses of everyday life as well as you become more adept.
Maybe that's the biggest difference between Systema and other martial arts that people might try.
Yeah, I mean there's only so many ways that you can throw your hands and legs around in order to punch people, kick them, grapple them on the ground or standing up. So lots of different martial arts will teach you how to fight. Systema, in a very real sense, teaches you how to neutralize rather than to fight. I mean, we do punch, we do grapple, we learn how to choke and escape chokes, punch and absorb punches, things like that. But the ultimate goal is to actually diffuse the conflict before it starts, to see it coming from miles off, and to be able to evade it in the way that spies do, not fight it in the way that grunt soldiers do. So it's a little bit of a different philosophical stance. So.
Pretty cool. And you guys do cold water. We tried. It was a 3-minute cold water immersion in the 39 degree.
It was pretty cool. You would have just been hanging out.
Yeah.
He wakes up every morning, walks out naked, and dumps a bar of water on himself.
You must live in the woods. Do you live in
No, we've got neighbors up
definitely not in the city?
No, he's in the suburbs. They've learned the time of day not to look.
How many women participate in your Systema classes?
The answer to that is probably not enough, but more than is typical in most martial arts actually. So right now we've probably got about 20-25%. But I think more and more women are trying Systema because of what it offers beyond the ability to defend yourself. It's not just the confidence and the knowledge to know how to get yourself out of trouble if it comes, but it's also the things that it affords women if they're dealing with stressful lifestyles and are expected to be perfect mothers and perfect CEOs and perfect everything all the time, which seems standard in the society.
Yeah.
Oh, the accent.
Yeah. North Carolina, clearly.
Exactly. I'm like, you're from here, aren't you?
Southeast England. So I grew up in Kent, near Canterbury. Have you ever heard of the Canterbury Tales?
You started Systema obviously out in the UK, right?
I did. I was actually doing Aikido for many years before that, and I studied Aikido in Japan and met my wife in Japan. I was in London and I saw an advert at a pub at Imperial College where I was doing a master's degree saying come and learn Russian martial art, and I was like, what's this? And I went down to the basement of this pub and the 3 guys down there basically kind of lit me up.
It's great. I'm excited to learn.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this.
Okay.
All right.
4 pillars to Systema. Like the 4 legs of the table. You chop one of them off and the other 3 don't work very well and the whole thing falls down. The first one is breathing. The second one is structure, which can mean physical structure or it can mean psychological stability as well. The third one is movement. It's the ability to move and not get stuck. And the fourth one is relaxation, which we take to mean not just kind of that, but selective tension, the ability to be tense in one place and free in another, more than anything else. So we'll give you some exercises to start to get you fully relaxed, because most people either don't know how or have forgotten how to completely relax themselves.
What are you trying to say? That's much harder.
Yeah, some people find it harder going towards the head, some people towards the feet, depending on their tension. So it helps if you have no hair too.
I'm not going anywhere.
The hardcore Russian soldiers, they make you do this for an hour.
Holy cow. This is intense, man. Yeah, my abdominals.
As you get more frustrated with small movements or difficult spaces, we tend to hold our breath. And then that will drive up the blood pressure and it will drive up our stress level and it will make us get worse at moving, right? So those exercises are kind of a little bit difficult on purpose so that we can try and find freedom kind of inside the body, so that if we get trapped or held or squashed against the floor or something like that, then we can find ways of moving anyway. When in everyday life we tend to just push things away with our hands, right, and just use these a lot, maybe run away with our legs. But if those things are impaired, if we get grabbed or restrained or sat on or something, right, we can get quite panicky quite quickly. So one of the goals of this breathing and this structure building is to make sure that we're kind of inoculated against that a little bit. There's 4 basic exercises that we do that look like basic calisthenics. Right? So they look like push-ups, squats, sit-ups and leg raises, but they're a little bit different. We're again not trying to do these for the purpose of building muscle. We're actually trying to get into these positions and then seeing how little tension we can use to hold them and how little tension we can use while we're in the middle of them.
Okay. Okay.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just sit, hold body at the same time.
Okay.
That's it. Good, good.
Yeah,
nice.
That's really good.
That's it. It's good. Keep going, keep going. So one little trick, if you get stuck halfway, there's a 45-degree point where it kind of gets difficult. Switch from the inhale to the exhale at exactly that point where you're going to get stuck. Because often what happens is you breathe, especially if you're used to doing power breathing for like weights or something, and people go and they tense. And what happens is you're tensing your back muscles, which is pulling you back down. So you end up going and locking yourself in this position.
I realized it was magical.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So breathing is one of the only ways that we can communicate directly with our nervous system, the autonomic part, the bit that kind of tenses on its own. Motto of Systema is poznaj se dia, which means know yourself. Right? You have to understand your body and what it can do and what it can't do, and then you gradually expand the capacities.
Ready to call up Ezra?
To do with and things like that. Our initial response to unwanted contact, right, which is assault technically. Any unwanted contact is assault. As soon as he puts his hand on me, I'm normally tense. Right? And people just naturally tense. The tension will stop you from moving. In the same way that it's difficult to move if you're tense in the middle of a squat, you have to kind of edge down, and relaxation can help you move smoothly. If he touches me and I freeze, I have to unfreeze before I can hit him, or even unfreeze before I can run away properly. Whether I want to escape or deal with the problem, tension is not going to help. It's just going to keep me exactly where he wants me to be. Right? So the first goal is he's going to push, touch an area, and I'm just going to relax. I'm just going to hold my spine straight, but everything else just kind of bevels.
I found myself holding my breath.
Yeah, it's the first thing. Right?
It's more because I don't want you to smell my breath. But if you were fighting me, I wouldn't care.
Secret weapon right there.
Chemical warfare applies. Look at all position when somebody's trying to pull you, right? So we'll do it from this way. So as he's trying to pull the arm, instead of trying to pull back from the hips this way, and then either eventually he'll kind of overcome my pull and I'll get jumped forwards, or if I'm in the middle of this and he pulls and I lean back and he lets go, I'll fall over, right? I'm off balance. I'm going to try and translate some of the force that he's pulling that way straight into the ground. So the more he pulls, the more I squat. So I like to call this one the stubborn toddler drill, right? If you've ever tried to move a toddler in a supermarket, they have a tantrum, they do this, you can't pick them up, right? They only weigh 40 pounds, but you can't pick them up. My response should not be when he grabs me this, because this will get me stuck or put me off balance. My response instead is, he grabs me, I sink, and now I'm relaxed. I can put them on the ground, I can do other things, right? If my structure is powerful, I can make it. Yep. But as he grabs something and pulls it and tries to move you, try and move that whole structure and just step to a place where you feel comfortable, right? So as opposed to he grabs and pulls and I try and just stay here. I'm going to try and move to a new spot where I feel like there's no tension in my body and that he hasn't got my arm. He gets the whole person instead, right? So his whole reason for grabbing an arm is to dissociate it from the body so that he can pull me off balance as I try and catch up and throw me on the ground or pull me into a car or a wall or whatever he needs. But if I just move the whole body when he does that, he gets the whole person for the bargain. And the whole person is well structured too, so I can move myself, right? And move him down from that, right? And if I try and do that from out here, I can't. It's like starting an arm wrestle from here. No one's going to win, right? So I always want to cheat. I always want to start my arm wrestle from here, right? So that he has a worse position of leverage. So this drill will lead and follow. So I'm just going to try and pull him around. And I start with kind of non-scary and unobtrusive places, just by pulling his arms, maybe the shoulders, steering him around. And then gradually, you work up to a bit scarier. Hold on as tight as you can. So if I try and get away this way, maybe if I'm super strong, I might be able to rip it out, but you're stopping me from escaping.
Right.
If you hold,
Which side? This side?
doesn't matter. Yeah,
Okay.
hold. I sit, I relax, and I leave my hand up. That's all I'm doing. I'm just leaving the elbow down.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how hard you hold on. It's not because I'm strong. It's because I have blind mechanics. So that's it. Yep. Like 2 gaps here. I just move both forearms towards those positions, both hands, in order to escape. Right?
Okay.
Or if he's holding quite tight over the top, and I'm really having trouble getting out underneath, I can just smash his thumbs together. That way. Smash his thumbs together, or you can turn the wrist this way, and then you can kind of saw his fingers like that, right? And that comes off really quickly. Yeah, they work. Both of those.
That's awesome.
6 arms on one, right? So if he grabs like that, and you're trying to get away, and you're trying to slap at him, or whatever it's going to be, you can't escape. It's difficult because he's doubled his power, right? 2 arms versus 1. So I'm like, oh, I can't get out. What could I possibly do? I wonder, right? Take your other hand, hold your own hand, and then help to lever it out this way. Right? So hold with your own hand, and it comes out. So
Okay.
you feel same thing. So if you try and pull one hand out, it's difficult, but 2 hands on 2 hands means
Okay.
you get out every time. That's it. Yeah, nobody can hold.
Feels so powerful.
Exactly. Grab, lever. Yeah. So you just learned about 20 martial arts techniques in about 10 minutes. 2 hands at the same time. Yeah, good. We can smash my thumbs together. Whoosh. Yeah, exactly. We'll do this saw thing. That's it. Yeah. Works great. We've got rings too. It's even worse. That's great. Okay. But if I can find a little bit of movement in my shoulders and my hips, then I can move away. What we tend to do is hold on to this arm and just try and pull it down. And he just squeezes tighter and tighter. In practice, this is only dangerous because he has his arm against the front of my throat, the soft part. Right? If we were like this, and he was pulling it in, I'll be like, yeah, it's just my neck, who cares? And I grab down here. And usually people freeze themselves. They get to here, and they try and move the whole body, and they get stuck. But if you understand that this is the thing being grabbed, you can rotate in place by releasing the shoulder. So I can dip the shoulder, and then you can move it like immediately.
You gotta get out of the way.
So if you see it soon enough, as the arm comes over the shoulder, you can just circle out, right? You can just move yourself, or you can dip underneath it as it comes, right? So you can dip out and smack him, or do whatever you need to do. If he gets a bit more of a grip on them, then you might have to drop your shoulder underneath it from this place, and then you can just barge in with your shoulder that way. So as you're grabbing, try this. See if you can pirouette in place like a ballerina. You won't be able to do it with your shoulders wide if you're tense, because you'll just move him around and he'll go with you like a backpack. Right? So see if you can, again, sink, drop your shoulder underneath his and get inside of it, right? The tighter it is, the more difficult it is, but it's never impossible. There's always a space here, right? If you're trying to get all the way out, it's very difficult. But all I'm trying to do is put a shoulder between me and him. This infinitely improves my position. And then you can just hang on with 2 hands and just squat down. Just use your hips to put them on the ground. Okay? That's it. So dip the shoulder, stay close to him, hold onto his arm with both hands. Keep that arm, that's your arm now, you own it. Right?
Okay.
And then turn this way slightly, and then just squat in between your own feet. That's it. There he goes. Yeah. Yeah. Nicely done. Good. Too fast. I just thread one arm up the middle, which allows me to dip my shoulder under. So my shoulder goes underneath his hand and comes up. Right? From this point, I can grab his head if I want to wrestle him, but I wouldn't recommend it because you're not usually going to be wrestling somebody smaller than you. Right? It's normally going to be somebody bigger. Or you can just hit him like in the neck, or down the side of here. Or we can use what you call short work, which is using pressure points in order to make him shoot. And I'll show you some of those. It's creating a little bit of tension. It doesn't have to be the neck. It can be the jaw hinge. It can be the temple. It can be the mastoid gland here underneath the ear. If I just push that, he'll just move his head away. Right? It'll be sore, but he'll just kind of go like that. Right? Pushing my thumb. If I hold the other side of his head and I treat it like a basketball and I'm trying to puncture the basketball, it's terrible. Right? It's absolutely terrible. He goes wherever you want. It's like a command.
Just aim right forward. So you're here. Nice.
Good. Yeah, then fine point on that one again. This is perfect. As you prod him though, he'll probably just kind of endure that. Right? He'll move a bit sideways and come back again. Grab the top of his head and push it towards your thumb.
Okay.
So squish the 2 against each other.
Okay.
Good try.
You're holding a little tight now.
Same thing. things. So first, free your shoulder. So don't try and knock my arm away. Just move your shoulder underneath and in between. That's
Got
it.
it.
Try to sneak it in between. That's it. That's it. Yeah, I can't stop you doing that.
And then here.
Yeah. So just make a fist. Put your thumb on the top of it. And your thumb sticks out a little bit more than your first knuckle. This becomes like a prodding weapon. Right? You feel it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like a little bone knife. Right. Stick that in there. No, that's fine, that's fine. And then get the top of my head and push it towards your other thumb. That's it. Yeah, but pushing more. Yeah. And it has to be a sharp little action, like a sewing machine.
Oh, you keep jabbing?
You just have to do it something. If you do it gradually, then they can kind of endure it, but if you go like that.
Oh!
Yeah, so it's like an electric.
If you want to feel
So that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do.
Okay.
So up you go. In there, and then top of the head, and jab. That's it, yeah, good. Very good. Just back front. You got that way around. It can be quite difficult, again, you're trying to kind of hit him or get him away from you and that kind of stuff. But the good thing about this is, if your hands are free, his face is like a salad bar of pain, right? There's so many things there you can work with.
Salad bar of pain.
If I'm trying to hit him with the back muscles and things, it's no good. But if I just take this knuckle, or this extended kind of thumb in front of the knuckle here, and I just find his temple and drain into it this way, he will not hold on while you do that, right? He's not going to do it. You can dig it into the top of the collarbone, right in there. You can get into the neck, where we were a minute ago.
Wait, couldn't he bite you?
What's that?
Couldn't he bite you?
Probably not, if you're moving them away, right? So you can start doing that. One that's really, really useful is the suprasternal notch. So you have this sternum, right? And behind it is the heart, and there's a soft spot here, and there's lots and lots of nerves behind it. There's a nerve cluster, which basically says, do not poke things in here. Right? So if you push down and towards the top of the heart from there, it's quite terrible, and especially if you limit his escape. So if you do this, and he can walk backwards, it's not the end of the world, because he can retreat to safety. If you do this, it's absolutely terrible. Yeah, he'll go backwards very quickly. So as soon as somebody tries to grab you around the waist, if your arms are free, just poke there, and that's it. They can't hold you, right? So rather than try and hit them or do other things, right, you just poke, find a little spot, and then away you go.
Yeah, so you can actually hook the inside of the
Crazy.
pocket. Yeah.
He did it so gentle, and I was like, "Cool."
Yeah. What if he gets your arms, right? It's all the way around your arms, and you can't hit your arms up. The answer is there's almost always space between me and him, right? If I try and break my arms free, again, it's very difficult, but you can do this kind of incy-wincy spider move where you crawl your hands up your own body in between you and him, and then you can find your way out that way. So you literally just go like that, right? And then you can get your fingers out that way, instead of trying to force your way out like this. The other thing that you can do is that he also has lots of nerves around the unit, the family unit, right? So if you're not squeamish about it, you can grab a handful and pull up, right? If you're a bit more squeamish, you don't really want to, you can grab the skin on the inside of his thigh very close to that. And the trick here is don't grab too much. Don't try and like hit it or like grab a big handful of skin or something. You have to nip it like a irritating Jack Russell, right? You just get the skin with the nerve endings in between like your tiny little teeth. So he's holding on tight, and you go like that, just like a nip, and then he'll move his hips backwards. When his hips are backwards, you have space for space.
My husband's in trouble.
A bit more scary for various reasons. One is that we're not used to moving on the ground most of the time. When we're kids, we roll around on the ground all the time, right? But when we're adults, we don't do this kind of thing very much, like squirming around. So we can't move very fast, and we're not very agile. So that's scary, we're limited. The second thing is that usually if there's weight and there's pressure on us, it makes us feel like we're suffocating a little bit, right? So just that on its own, not being able to breathe, is scary. So getting across those things, the feeling of restriction and the feeling of suffocation, first of all, we're going to separate them out. So I'm just going to lie down totally flat. He's going to lie across my body with his belly on my belly. Just stay still. Yeah. And he just tries to be like a dead weight. And I breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. But I notice that I can't expand my belly the way that I ordinarily would get to do, right? By just standing free breathing, I wasn't restricted. So I have to find other spaces for the breath to extend into. So if I breathe fairly shallow, I don't try and force him up like I'm weightlifting, then I feel fine. I can lie here. If I was trapped in some rubble in an earthquake or something, for about the first 5 minutes I'll be like, help, help, and then I'll be like, nobody's coming. I guess I just conserve my energy, right?
That's pretty
And this just takes all of the
the fear out, all the psychology of just being pinned down. And this is where you start from.
This is really, really hard for me.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're claustrophobic.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is really good stuff for her.
So it's the same thing. So if you have somebody who's claustrophobic, you start pinning him first. So if you go down across him, start. So it's knees and elbows, and just a bit of weight. That's it. And try and put your hands underneath by your hips, rather than guarding. That's it. Yeah. Good. Right. And then just the same thing. Instead of focusing on the bits that you can't move and the places that are kind of trapped, just focus on the bits that are free. So your chest is free.
You let your chest expand a lot, get all that air up there. Almost like you don't even need your stomach to breathe.
From that little exploration, I've already figured out that it's probably not going to be worth me trying to sit up and fight him, right? Because I can't move very well in this direction, so that's probably not going to work. But I can move my legs around, right? So one very simple thing that I can do from here, which a lot of people neglect is, he has a foot here, like an ankle, what's on top of that. Nobody likes getting their ankle stepped on in this position, do they? Like if you had your foot like that and you just put your shoe on it, it would be terrible. Your hips weigh a lot, right? So from this position, whether he's trying to hold on to you or whatever he's doing, like this way, right? If you can just lift your hips up and then put them on his ankle like here, it really hurts, right? And then I can smear his ankle. And it makes him actually jump off of it. If you think about him being like a very stable tabletop, right? He has 2 legs here at the table. Pushing the whole table off me is very difficult because he's very heavy. And if I try and destabilize it one way or the other, each leg compensates for the other. So I have to remove at least one leg, right? If I remove one leg, maybe hold on to this arm, then I can start to move him towards that. I can tip the whole table just by pushing with my hips, and he's got nothing to stop himself from falling that way from, right? He's stuck all over. And if I do a combination of the two, so if I do this with my foot, and I hold onto his arm, with one of my arms, right? I don't want to fight him like this, because he'll be stronger than me, or like, at best it will be a stalemate. But if I use 2 arms on one, and just pull it to myself, now he can't put that hand on the ground. He can't use it as an outrigger if I try and escape this way, right? I pull it towards me, I hold it to my chest, I trap this foot, and then I move this way, and there's literally nothing he can do, even if I do it as slowly as possible. There's nothing that he can do to get his balance back at this point, right? He's fallen over. Doing really well, by the way. Going from claustrophobic to this is a huge step.
I had fun.
Awesome, I'm
So I knew you would.